this is going to keep you stuck. If you're doing this, you want to change, you want to release, you want to shift because you're going to stay on the hamster wheel of the same old, the same old. And nothing is going to change until you do. Okay, welcome to Patty's World. I'm Patty. I'm a transformational coach, and really, I help you pinpoint where you're stuck so you can flip and shift into having and being the person you want to be, the highest version of you, and having your dream life because you absolutely can have and align with all the desires of your heart. Okay, here's what we're talking about: the old story. If you're still walking around talking about and ruminating and thinking about and obsessing about the old story, what happened to you back then, and yeah, I get it, it was unfair, your SP, a third party, the friends, the family, the parent, it doesn't matter. The more you stay in that story, in that narrative, and keep telling it over and over and over, I'm this way because this happened to me. And I get it. Painful things happened. People experience traumas. But the more you stay in that narrative and bring that energy from the past, which is dead and gone, you're no longer experiencing it. You're creating it psychologically. It already happened. But in the present, powerful now, the eternal now, you're still bringing that energy and that narrative and that identity and that version of you into the present, and you're going to stay on that hamster wheel. And you're going to keep on experiencing people in the same way that you're identifying yourself because of that thing that happened in the past. And I'm here to tell you the past is dead and gone. I get it. It wasn't fair what happened to you. Let me be the first one to validate you. I get it. I get it. I get it. It isn't fair. But the sooner and the quicker you release whatever happened, you release the emotions, you release the story, you shift and flip it and create a new story around it, the more empowered you will be, the quicker you will push through it, and you'll be able to turn a painful experience, alchemize it, transmute it into power, into a place of, yeah, this happened to me, but it doesn't define me. It came through you, but it shouldn't become an identity of a wound, because a lot of people are walking around and identifying and have created a whole identity around their wounded pasts. And if you're stuck in that energy, you're just in that hamster wheel of the same old, the same old. So you have to change it. You have to create a new story. Okay, so how do you do that? I'm here to help you. Don't suppress, and I'm not advocating for suppressing. You want to release, and you can do this yourself. You can get with a therapist. I'm not always a fan of therapists. There's some great ones. The thing is that when we stay in the energy of the problem, you're creating more of the problem. Law increase, whatever you focus on and magnify and give your attention and energy to, you're giving life to, you're creating more of. But if you shift your energy and your focus to the energy of the solution, then that is what you're focusing and magnifying. So everything has a different perspective. Everything does. You have to believe that. You're just looking at it from your own perspective, from your own viewpoint. And let me tell you this. Do you ever wonder how two people can experience the same situation but have completely polar, differing perspectives and viewpoints and experiences? Even within families, even siblings, friendships, marriage, whatever. There's always different perspectives. So I want you to get clear with yourself and sit with yourself and say, can I look at this differently? I'm willing to look at this differently from a different perspective. Yeah, whatever happened wasn't right, but I am choosing to no longer be a victim. Because if you're choosing to stay in a victim role and identify as a victim and believe that you're powerless to whatever happened, then that's the identity you're creating. And you're always choosing the viewpoint, and you're always choosing the narrative, and you're always choosing the identity. You get to choose. That's hard for some people to hear, but you really get to choose who you are, and you get to choose your beliefs and your thoughts. You 100% have control over them. If you're letting them control you, then you will be a victim of your circumstances. And the beautiful, powerful thing about conscious creation and law of assumption, really, which is what transformed my life, is that we step into our power and say, I will no longer carry this as a baggage, as a weight. I am no longer identifying as a victim. I'm getting clear on what happened, And I'm looking at this from a different perspective. And let me give you an example. A couple of years back, I had a situation. I'm a tennis player, and I played as a little girl, and I played in these adult teams with grown women. But these women can take it very seriously and get very competitive. And it was during a time that I was busy. I wasn't playing a lot, so I wasn't playing my best. And I these friendships, or women that I thought were my friendships, that my friends, were creating a new team, and I wasn't included because I wasn't practicing as much and I had lost a couple of matches. So I was literally excluded from a team that they were creating. And I didn't find out about it until people started registering and signing up. And when I found out, and I reached out to the captain and I reached out to some of them, it was so hurtful and painful. Because if they would have just told me, hey, we're creating this team, we only have so many spots, will you be able to commit? I would have said, no, I'm going to be traveling, I'm not available, I'm not playing as much. And I would have freely given up my spot, right? But the fact that they were doing all this seventh grade, middle school girl behaviors, and I was excluding and they were hiding it, it was really painful. And it took me back to a time when I was a little girl, and when you're not included or invited, and we've all gone through that. Whenever you're not invited or included somewhere. And it triggered a lot of things in me. A lot of, I'm not good enough, I'm not chosen, I'm not worthy. It can happen with anything, not just with love, but in families and friendships, at work. It brought out all those emotions. And I really had to sit with myself. And here's where I was able to step out of being a victim. I really had to get honest with myself and say, okay, I had to let these women off the hook, release them, forgive them. That is the version of them that I created, because I was still identifying as, they're mean girls and I wasn't included. Number one. Number two, what am I believing about this? What am I believing about myself? Well, I was looking for approval and acceptance outside myself in my friendships. I was looking for them to include me, to validate me, to approve of me through tennis. And I was identifying and creating this whole identity around playing tennis as a 40 and something year old woman. I don't know if I had turned 50 yet. I hadn't. Around tennis. It's a hobby. It's down on my priorities. And I know this is silly when you think, look at it. I brought it into the light, and it's really silly when you think about it, but it's okay if they take it seriously. I don't. It's a hobby. My identity isn't, and my self-worth isn't tied to it. And it's okay if I'm not included. I had to release them and say, okay, it's okay. I'm not playing as much. I just don't take it as seriously anymore. And maybe I don't align with them anymore, and we're at different places, and that's okay. And I release them in love and light. I take a step back and I put my energy into other things. And I had to believe that new friends and new people, based on the new place that I was in my life. I really was getting into this whole coaching thing and conscious creating and manifesting and starting a business and traveling. So really my identity and my focus and my energy was somewhere else. So I said, okay, that's okay, Patty. That's okay. You're putting your energy into other things, and stop looking for approval and validation outside myself. And so I had to say, you're worthy. You're valuable, you're deserving, I approve of you, you're somebody who deserves friendship, and choose yourself. Stop looking for it outside of you. And I had to really be okay with myself and release that whole thing. I had to understand that I'm worthy because I'm worthy. I have value because I have value, not because of what I'm doing or how I'm playing. And I flipped the beliefs and the narratives that all my friendships are based off of mutually reciprocal, mutually supportive relationships. I am surrounded by women at my level who approve of me because they care for me, who want the best for me, who are honest and loyal and trustworthy, and not these kind of relationships where there's secrets and backdoor conversations. And so I had to release that kind of energy and flip those beliefs, because there are women who don't engage in those kinds of behaviors. And I had to make a decision that at this age, I am no longer engaging in that, because I had in the past. I also had to hold myself accountable and say, where did I behave this way, where I was a mean girl and excluded someone? And so I really had to look at my behavior and flip those behaviors and flip that identity, and then say no more. Moving forward, I am going to be kind and be inclusive and not value people's worth based on their ability or what they give to me or what I can take from them, especially on such superficial, petty, silly things like tennis or whatever it is. And I was going to treat people with respect and value. And those who show me differently, who show up differently, that's okay. I release them in love and light and I move in a different direction. And so since then, I have been able to really release all that energy as far as my relationships with women. I no longer have those types of relationships. The new women that have come into my life, the friendships, the family relationships, are all women at my level. They're mutually supportive. They want the best for me. I want the best for them. They want me to succeed. I want them to succeed. There's not this jealousy, competition, bad mouthing that as soon as you leave the table or the room, they're going to tear you down. So I had to release that identity around the circles that I was choosing to be a part of. But then I also had to step into the identity that I'm going to be a safe person. I'm going to be a safe woman. I'm no longer engaging in these kinds of behaviors. And so I flipped the identity, I flipped the narrative, and now I bless it and I thank it because I no longer go through things like that. I'm a grown woman. I can have adult conversations, and the petty, mean girl criticism on looks, on marriages, on wishing other people bad. Yeah, I no longer identify or align myself with that. It was a huge growing learning opportunity for me. So, and the reason I'm sharing this is because I think as we move forward in life, we all start looking at ourselves and our lives and saying, okay, does this align with a version of myself, the best, highest version of myself, the person that I want to be, the kind, the supportive, the one who cheerleads other women? If it doesn't, then I have to reevaluate myself. But then I also have to reevaluate the type of circles that I'm choosing to participate in. And also not engaging when I see other women doing it. And now when I do see someone doing that, right there, it tells me something that this is who you are. You're still stuck in seventh grade, tearing other people down based on their looks, based on their choices, based on their relationships, based on whatever. And I no longer have time for that. I don't. If you haven't evolved past middle school behavior and mean girl behavior, I don't align with you. I just don't. I don't. I'm in a different place in my life. And so I used this opportunity and I flipped it. Instead of staying in victim and, oh, this always happens to me, I chose to never engage it again. I flipped the beliefs and I have affirmed that all my relationships, including those with women and men and friendships and family, they're always safe. They're loyal. They're trustworthy. It is okay for me to be me. They're inclusive. And I also had to step into the version of me that isn't looking for approval and validation outside herself. I give that to myself. I choose myself. I love myself. I am no longer hoop jumping for approval. If someone doesn't like me, that's okay. I like me. And I keep it moving. But other people's opinions, they go in through one ear and out the other. Really, it's a very empowering place to be. And the more I've practiced this version of me, this identity, it's allowed me to release and really not care what other people think. And just bless people. We're at different places in our lives. We have different choices, and that's okay. And I accept people for who they are. I don't always want you near me. Some people from afar. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm not everybody's flavor, and that's okay. I know I know that I am a good person. I'm a loyal person, and I no longer argue for my worth and value. I no longer argue for my worth and value or try to prove it to anyone in any capacity, in any relationship. And so when I stepped into that version of me who loves herself and accepts herself, then the people who have been showing up now have been mirroring it and reflecting it back to me because that is what I identify as. But I had to go first through that painful experience of like, oh, I wasn't included. It really did take me back to like being in fourth grade, you know, and but I was able to release and make peace with it. And I'm only sharing this. It's an experience. I no longer have any pain or triggering behaviors. But you flip the perspective and say, how can I use this for good? How can I look at this differently and change the narrative and create a new story? And then what am I believing about myself? What am I looking to get for someone to love me, approve of me, choose me, tell me I'm okay, fill the void within me? And anytime, and I'm going to tell you, anytime we're looking for people to fill that void within ourselves, then they have the power to make or break us. And you're always going to be shaken and stirred by whatever happens outside of you. But when you anchor the version of you who knows your worth and value and is not waiting for anyone else to love you or approve of you, it is a very empowering and powerful place to be. But here's the paradox, and it feels counterintuitive. When you're no longer searching or wanting or chasing approval or love from anyone, they give it to you naturally. They show up loving you and including you and approving of you. And those who don't. They're not my tribe, they're not my people, and that's okay. I'm okay releasing people and letting them go because other people come into my life or people show up differently. And it really has been an incredible transformation. So, if you're going through some sort of separation in your life, and usually when we start to level up, I'm going to tell you this, we go through separation. I should have started with this. We go through those periods of separation in our life. If you're going through a separation in any capacity, marriage, friendship, family, work, it's because you're leveling up. There's a glow up. But step into that new version of you. Believe that everything's working out for you. Life is supporting you. And know your worth and value, and people will show up reflecting that. Everything starts with you. Give yourself permission to look at things differently. Step out of that victim mindset. Ignore the 3D and say, okay, how can I use this for good? When you look at everything in your life and say, how can I use this for good? How can I believe differently? How can I transmute this into a powerful place? That I am the woman who no longer accepts this in her life. I am the woman who believes and assumes this. And this is how people show up for me. That is what you'll create. That is what the world will mirror back to you. Remember, you're the operant power. Everyone is you pushed out. You give people and assign the roles that they're going to play in your life. And that's how they show up. Everything starts with you. So always change yourself, go within. It'll transform everything in your life. So I hope this helped you. I shared that story with you because it was, we're always growing and we're always evolving. And for me, it was something silly like tennis. But I had to see where I was reliving a pattern, the little girl from fourth grade who was still playing out these beliefs and these patterns as a 40-year-old and 50-year-old. And it's funny because most of us do. We're living and playing out childhood circumstances and pains and triggers. And when we allow ourselves and take 100% accountability and responsibility and choose to look at it differently and choose to step out of victim mode and step into our power and believe differently and release that pain, game changer, you become the queen, the powerful woman of your life. You really do. And you align with these amazing circumstances. And I can tell you now that the people that have been showing and entering my life have just been incredible. My life keeps getting better and better and better. I'm always blessing it. I'm always just living from the version and the belief that my life is getting better, and the better it gets, the better it gets, the better it gets, because I've become more secure and certain in who I am, and I can shift and change any circumstance. And I'm a cheerleader, and I want other women to succeed. And I'm always cheering them on, always, always, always. And I love my friends. And I think as that we get older, our female friendships mean a lot. I mean, female breakups can be very painful. Have you ever had a female breakup, like a friendship breakup? They can be very, very painful. So I was like, well, I just don't vibe with her anymore. And that's okay. I wish her love. I don't hate anyone. I wish you love. I wish you well. And if you're not part of my life anymore, I hope you heal. I wish you the best. That's it. I send you love, and I hope everything works out for you, and I keep it moving, and I focus on me. And that's the energy I reside in. But I no longer prove my worth and value to anyone. I know who I am. I know I'm a kind, loving, supportive woman. But if people don't show up that way, that's okay. You're not my person. I let you go. Anyway, that being said, I could go on and on and on. I hope this helped you. And you can apply this for anything, in work, in love, in family, whatever you're going through. Look at it differently. Now, that being said, this all ties into manifesting because you align with whatever you believe you're worthy of, whether it's love, money, career, health too. This ties into health. I'm going to do a video on health. I should, because I went through a health thing, and here's how I can tell you how I shifted it. So this month, it's July 1st, but at the end of this month, July 25th and 26th, I have a 2-day intensive workshop, and we're going to do some powerful visualizations that will truly shift you. I'm going to work with you, and it'll be your opportunity to ask me your questions, and I will help you reframe beliefs and shift into the new story so you anchor that in. You don't want to miss it. It is priced, it's 2 days, $64, because once I record it and it's out, the price will always go up. And here's your chance to, if you're not ready to do a one-on-one with me, here's your chance to have me up close and personal and have your questions answered. But also, I walk you through these powerful visualizations that are life changing, that really go deep into your subconscious mind. So that's all in my bio, in my stand store. And a couple of other things. I'm going to be releasing a podcast on manifesting. Speaking of my female friendships, I just released season 2 of my podcast with my female friends. It's in my stand store. It's at the bottom, and this podcast and shows. It's called Amigas al Aire. I'm Latina. And so we're talking about, it's not manifesting stuff. It's more aging well and women's health. If you're into that stuff, please give us a follow and subscribe. There's a video version on YouTube, and there's also the podcast. And then look out for my workshop. And I have a bunch of freebies on my stand store too. So sign up for that, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for joining me.